What's up, everyone? It's your boy Earl Anderson back again with Hard Work Videos. I have a very special guest, my dear friend, my brother. This dude, he wears many different hats, from entrepreneur of 20 plus years to being a self-taught economic analyst and macroeconomic historian. This is my brother, Kwanzai Heru.
Welcome everybody. How y'all doing?
Man, I know people are going to really get a lot of information from this video because, in this channel, I want to make sure that we get a whole bunch of different perspectives about business and entrepreneurship. So what you got to share, I know, is going to be some heavy hitting, man. Some real heavy hitting.
No doubt. And I think it's going to be a special treat because normally what I do is I kind of get a heads up on the questions that I'm going to be asked. But this time, just for authenticity, we freestyling this. I have not seen his questions. I'm taking this interview as it comes, and I'm going to use it to shine and show you that I'm for real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So one of the things I want to ask you about, all right, because for some of us who are a little bit deeper about what's going on in the world, in the States, we know that everything is not what it seems to be. All right. So when we're talking about finances, when we're talking about money, we're talking about economics. What is the current situation that you see that's going on in the States as far as, this money currency, this thing that we're dealing with to trade? What do you think about that?
I think this is a perfect time to, I think it's a perfect time to go into a quick little story.
Right.
There was a fisherman that was out fishing, threw his hook in a line, and decided to have a conversation with the fish he was trying to catch. And he stuck his head in the water and he said, "Fish, do you guys know that you're swimming in water all day long?" And the fish comes back and he says, "What is water? What is water?" That's deep. The fish has been in this water all his life and he don't even know what water is. So let's use that, because the moral of the story is that's exactly what we're doing. We are like goldfish. We've been swimming in this economic world our entire life and we don't have any clue what it is. And that's our downfall right there. We don't know what we need to know in order to survive economically, because that is the root of all control. If you control somebody's pocketbook, you are controlling that person, just like you would a puppet with strings. So this is why we have a moral responsibility to educate ourselves in the financial world. Now, where do we start?
Man.
See, the bottom line is taking control of your finances.
Right.
How have we been programmed? If we want to make money, they always tell us invest it. How do you invest? Well, I'm not going to explain to you how I'm going to invest it, but if you trust me, I'm only going to charge you a small maintenance fee, and I am going to take care of your finances for you. And that's where we're in trouble, because now we are like hens giving the keys to the hen house to the fox. Right? They've been doing this for centuries. They need our ignorance in order for them to prosper. And this is just one of the reasons why the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poor, because we don't even know what money is.
Right, man. So what is money? Because I've heard a lot talking about, money just a paper currency. It doesn't have any real backing, especially nowadays. I've been hearing that, the Federal Reserve has been gone. They ain't got no real money. So we basically just pass around paper.
Well, now we're getting into the power of words, because there are two sets of languages in the vocabulary that you have. You have common vocabulary, which is represented by all the collegiate dictionaries, and then you have legal vocabulary. Now, we think that they would be the same, but a perfect example of it would be the classic conversation that President Clinton had when he was on trial for having a sex scandal with Monica Lewinsky. And he said to everyone, they said, I can't remember the question now, but his response was, because it's an important part.
Right.
He said, "It depends on how you define is." right?
Yeah,
Now
I
you
remember
think
that.
about that for a minute. Who doesn't know what is means?
Right.
Well, guess what? Is in the collegiate dictionaries, it does mean what we all know it to mean. But in a legal dictionary, it does not mean what we think it does. And there are a number of different words in the legal dictionary that look the same as the collegiate dictionary, but they are not having the same meaning. Now, as we know, everything that we do financially has legal ramifications to it. Therefore, all the wording associated with financial transactions are legally binding. That's why we have to learn the legal language versus the collegiate language for finances. Now, they deliberately make all of this very complicated because they use crazy, made up phrases to describe financial instruments. But the bottom line is, it's basic, simple accounting. Credits and debits. If this side moves, then that side's gonna move the opposite, right?
Right.
It's just the same as your checkbook. If you put money in the bank, then if you take it out, they have definitions for that. And it's all about maintaining a balance. But let's get back to that original statement that I made. We don't even know what money is.
Right.
There's a legal definition by the Act of 1782 where the Constitution defines exactly what money is. Everything else, aside from what is defined in that act, is currency. And that's where we're lost. We think that cash, dollars, and currency are money, when in fact they are not. They are simply representations of money. And that's where we are lost in thought. We're not completely lost, but we're lost in thought. And this is how they take advantage of us.
Okay, so for the people who are watching this video, I'll make sure I leave some links in the description. Y'all can check out this and research for yourself, because we don't want to just talk and just say stuff and not have no backup. So I'll make sure I get the information and share it with you guys. So my next question is this. So what is the real currency? What is it that we can get a hold of that's actually real and not something that, just a representation of money, just something that's actually a real resource that we can use or even just build upon, so we can kind of have a foot in something that's real and not get so caught up in this game that we've grown up in.
Okay. Well, in your research for defining what is money, or discovering and understanding what is money, I encourage everyone to go look up the 6 characteristics of money, because money has been different things over time. But for the last 6,000 years, the only thing that has truly functioned completely as money is gold and silver. Gold for the super wealthy and silver for the common man. Most of you probably don't know that even the Roman soldiers got paid a silver dime every day for their days of work.
I've heard about that,
Okay.
but yeah, I heard.
So silver has always been currency. You can, some of your older people in your audience, they can look back and they know that the quarters and nickels and dimes that we have, they used to be 40% silver. But there was a time even further back when they were 90% silver. And that's what we used as for currency, for transacting. And then there was a period in this country's history where they had silver certificates. So they were paper bills, but the value on them were guaranteed, where you could walk into the bank with a $20 certificate and they would actually put in your hand $20 worth of silver in exchange, right? Try that today. And then you'll understand that what you're holding in your hand is not money, but it is simply a representation of money called currency. And this currency isn't backed by any tangible goods except for the promise of the Federal Reserve. That's why it's called a Federal Reserve note, and it serves as legal tender. Read these dollar bills and then go and look up these words legally, what they mean, and it'll help a better understanding there.
Yeah, so what popped up in my head was promissory note, because I've heard that before. It's just, you're talking about just a promise, like, yeah, this money is just a promise that, I got some backing with this. And it's funny because when you think about this country specifically, we're in heaps and heaps and heaps of debt because we basically just, tossing around IOUs. That's what it feels like, and we all accept it. So that's why it kind of, stands a little bit. I wouldn't even say stand. I guess it's just, the legs are deteriorating, but we're just dealing with this this representation of how we deal with money, and that's all it is. So this education is very well needed because, especially when we're walking into the future, things are going to change, and I can feel it. Other people can see it, and it's like we need to get some real backing and some type of a currency or resources, some actual tangible resources, so we're able to survive and be able to trade with one another and be able to, just get to the next level of human evolution. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about from apes to man. I ain't talking about that. I'm just talking about, this place is going to be different 50 years from now. So what is that going to mean for money, for food, for health, for resources, for all these different things? We need to know what's coming ahead, so we're able to, put things in place so we can get, don't have to get hit by all the heavy blows. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, now I think it's a great time to draw the picture of what you're describing, which is things are changing. They're going in a direction we may not be able to clearly understand, but something is going on and we don't understand it. Well, I'm going to try to bring a little understanding to that. Now I'm going to put on the macroeconomic historian hat that I talked about. Okay. Now, everyone can remember back in the day, and it's easy to research, where we had World War I, where the early United States was not at war with the rest of the world, but in fact, all of Europe and Russia were warring with one another.
Right.
Their economies were just like they are today, where everyone owed everybody. No one could afford to pay each other. And then you had what is called currency wars and import-export deficits, where people wanted what was due to them, but everybody owed everybody. So they went to war to try to take back the goods and services that were owed to them, and that's what that World War was all about. Well, the United States primarily was on the sidelines throughout that whole process. And what happened is that all of these countries were converting all of their manufacturer warehouses and production plants into instruments for producing goods and services for the war, and totally neglected the people. In other words, whatever may have looked like a Walmart back in the day, that got shut down and converted over to a tank facility making machine, right? Or it was making bullets, or it was making uniforms for the soldiers, or boots even, right? So now these shoe manufacturers to keep shoes on everybody's feet were solely dedicated to the war, and therefore the civilian population was basically starving to death and suffering. So what the countries had to do was start buying things from somebody that wasn't in the war, and that was the United States.
Okay.
At that time, the British sterling was the world reserve currency that everyone used. Just like right now, everyone uses the US dollar. Well, at that time, we're talking 1912, 1911, the British sterling was the currency that everyone used, and they were failing because Germany was attacking them, blowing up everything. Buckingham Palace got bombed, the whole 9 yards. They didn't care, it was on. All the goods and services that they were buying from the United States, they had to pay for it in gold. We didn't take their currencies because they knew that their currencies were hyperinflated and weren't worth a damn. That also happened in World War II. So between World War I and World War II, everyone in the whole world was buying from the United States, and we were only accepting gold as payment. That's how Fort Knox got filled up. Fast forward, where does the whole world buy from now?
Is it China?
You're damn right it's China.
Got it.
Everybody knows it. It's not even a second thought anymore.
Yeah.
Everything comes from China.
Right.
Well, back in 1914, that's how it was. Everything came from the United States. So here's the transition that's in progress. The British sterling lost its value as the world reserve currency, and that switched over to the United States because it had 8,000 tons of gold to back its currency and make it have value to it. And now, because of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the United States went into bankruptcy in 1933, and is still in bankruptcy. And what it had to do in that bankruptcy proceeding is that it pledged all of its gold, all of its land, and all of its citizens. That's very important. And all of its citizens as collateral for a $400 billion loan that we are still paying on. But that $400 billion is now $21 trillion of debt.
And it just keeps on going up.
And it just keeps growing because the monetary system that we use, which is called capitalism, only works if the amount of debt that you had last year is exceeded by the amount of debt you create this year, and so forth and so on. That is the reason why the debt just keeps growing. Now, the United States, in order to fund itself, it has to sell bonds to its people or the rest of the world in order to continue to pay the interest on that debt. And this is where we get into that financial trouble. And this is why the United States is losing its value as the world reserve currency, and now it's transitioning to China. So I'm gonna make a joke now. You better start learning Russia and Mandarin.
That's a very small joke. That's some real stuff right there. You know, it's pretty interesting and crazy because this is not something that's a new thing. Because you just going across the history from World War I and going on right now, and I believe the same thing happened in Rome as far as their money just being blown up.
You're exactly right. All of what is happening now, it was best recorded. It wasn't the first time, but it was best recorded in the Roman Empire. Think about it for a minute. If Rome had the largest military of its time and was controlling all of those territories, and no one had a force strong enough to take down Rome, why is Rome no longer here? In the sense that you remember it.
Right.
And the reason is because it completely imploded upon itself because it could no longer afford all the debt that it incurred to maintain that domination over all those nations.
See, now when you're talking about, just the states, that resonates a whole lot,
Yes. Because that's where we are here in this empire's history, is that it can no longer afford to dominate the world like it has been doing. And now it is imploding upon itself, and the power is transitioning to China via Russia and all the deals and transactions that they're making. And we're going to get to some more of that later in the interview.
Man, that is something powerful, man. I'm glad you're sharing this because some of it is stuff that I need some refreshing on, some stuff I didn't know altogether. So myself and everyone who's watching this video, do your research because there's a lot more that we can learn about what's going on right now because we need it. We need it sorely because when this stuff hits us, we can't be surprised, There's too many things going on right now that's hitting us over the head and we just don't know it's hitting us over the head. So don't make this be one because this is a very powerful player just in the world and we need to have some kind of understanding about this so we don't get lost in the sauce. So going back to, what we should do to kind of build up, my uncle says, build up our hoard. You were talking about investing in silver and gold, but silver more for the common folk. So that would have to be something that we would have to really target on to get some resources up under us. So how you think about that?
Okay, you just used a very important word, and I think this is another reason why we continue to get robbed. You just said invest in silver and gold. Well, silver and gold in the physical sense, meaning I can put that physical gold coin in my hand, not a paper trade, not a stock trade, but that physical piece of gold or silver in my hand is not an investment. It is a way of storing your wealth. Just the same way as you would store food, you would store water, you would store medical equipment, you would store protection for yourself. Those are forms of storing your wealth. Same way you would buy land. You think of some of the big boys, how they buy all these $2 million cars. They're storing their wealth in that car.
Okay.
They're storing their wealth in that Mozart painting.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, Mozart painting.
Mozart.
And then Mozart music, right?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
his sheet music, right?
Right,
That's
right.
worth so much money. Or these pieces, these Rembrandts that's on the wall, that kind of stuff, right?
Gotcha.
They're storing that wealth. The painting is just a painting.
Uh-huh.
And it was done by somebody that was unique and everything, but it has value because everyone perceives it to be rare and valuable because it's unique.
Got it.
But other than that, it's just a way of storing value.
Right. So let me switch up what I was saying then. So not invest, but just actually holding on to physical silver and gold.
Okay.
You know, that's something that we have to do. Not because having, you know, a paper note to it, that's basically saying like, you know, like you were saying, you just putting your wealth into it, but at a snap of someone's fingers, it can be nothing because you don't have the actual physical thing in your hand that's yours.
Exactly. We all, or hopefully we do, because I know, you know, most people, we have very short memories. I hope everyone remembers the impact that 2008 had on our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I say our because it affected everybody. Approximately 6 to 7 million people lost their jobs. I don't have the number for how many people lost their homes.
Right.
But 6 to 7 million people losing their jobs was very impactful on everybody's lives because it shut down movie theaters, it shut down restaurants, it shut down clothing stores, it shut down business as usual. And everything had to rebuild itself. Well, does everybody realize, and if you don't, you need to do that research. And a quick reference would be the movie The Big Short, because in that movie, it illustrated exactly why 2008 happened pretty much. But it also showed that they didn't fix anything.
They kind of just put
Absolutely nothing that created the problem was fixed. All they did was kick the can down the road.
Wow.
Just the same as you owe money on your credit card, you go borrow some money from one of your friends to pay the bill. But the bill didn't go away. You just got a short-term fix for it.
Yeah.
But the problem is still there. You still owe all that money and you got to pay it. And them dudes is knocking on your door saying, I want my money, right? So this is where the United States is 10 years later. Nothing was fixed, but the debt is twice as much as it was when 2008 happened.
So where is this going? I know it's going to, like, I guess a collapsing, but like, is that basically all it is? It's just going to go there, and then there's going to have to be like a huge restart, or someone else is going to come in and basically we're going to start paying rent to Russia or China?
Well, we're already paying rent to Russia and China. We're already paying rent to Japan because they have bought treasury bonds, and that's the same as loaning us money or currency, right? Loaning us currency to keep things going, right? But they are starting to sell off those bonds. And this is why the stock market is having the major fluctuations right now, because the bond market, which is where cities, counties, states, and municipalities and governments, they all sell these bonds to finance their operations every year. Now, when everyone stops buying those, that's when you got a problem. Because now, the safe investments after 2008 was putting everybody's retirement funds into bonds because bonds were considered safe. But now the interest rates are rising. That means they have to pay more to those bond holders, and there's less money going to your retirement plan. And this is why 46 of the 50 states are completely underfunded with their pension obligations. And you have California, Kentucky, Connecticut, Illinois, and Wisconsin on the brink of going upside down, just like San Bernardino did in Stockton, where they simply had to file bankruptcy because they could no longer pay their pension obligations to all the people they promised it to.
Yeah, so that's why pensions they've been on their way out. You know, you talking about someone like me, 25 years old, I ain't never seen no pension. That's just not happening for me at all.
It's not going to happen.
Not at all.
But the conventional wisdom is being taught that you need to buy into these pension plans, these 401ks, to safely invest in your future, when in fact all they're doing is throwing you right into the fire, because as we speak, people's pension plans are evaporating,
Right.
and they don't have any clue. As a matter of fact, another great example of that is that as part of the recovery, I'm saying recovery in the quotes because I'm laughing at it, is that large investors start investing people's pension plans in the Midwest retirement funds into Puerto Rico. Guess where Puerto Rico is now? The hurricane completely wiped it out. It's dead.
Dang.
90% of Puerto Rico does not function.
Right. Right.
Right? It is completely belly up. And guess what went belly up with it? All those 400,000 pension plans in the Midwest went belly up with them.
Wow.
Right? Because all that money was invested in the outcomes or future development, future production that was supposed to come from Puerto Rico.
Right.
But it is ceasing to function right now. They don't even have electricity on 90% of the island.
Right.
So how you manufacturing anything with no electricity? Right? So again, these are big picture problems that represent where all of this is going. The United States as a world reserve currency is dying rapidly, and the power is shifting over to China.
Man. This is you saying some hot stuff right now, man. A lot of people won't appreciate this, and then I don't want people on this channel talking about, conspiracy theories and this and that. This is research. All this is research and really paying attention to what's going on. A lot of people get caught up in just, watching the basketball game, doing this and that, but they don't really want to see what's really going on in the world around them. And then they have the stigma for, when real knowledge comes to the table, it's like, oh, I don't believe in that because it's like, nah, this is for real. And we need to study it because, once again, we don't know about what's going on. It's going to hit us over the head. And, it's only going to get more crazier. People worry about Trump being president. That's probably, a lightweight compared to all the different things that's going on that we're not catching on to.
That was a great point that you brought up. So let me just say this to everybody that may want to question the statements that I'm making that sound like some sci-fi movie stuff, right? You can start your research by looking up the 7 stages of a collapsing empire, right? Every empire throughout history has gone through the exact same 7 stages, and it's represented in the concept called kyklos, Kyklos. It's a Greek word. The philosophers of that day, Polybus, Socrates, Pluto, these guys all came together and were studying the cycles and stages of empires. And throughout their historic studies, they came up with an understanding of these 7 stages. And you can apply these 7 stages that every empire goes through around the world. It has happened over and over and over for all the exact same reasons. And the United States isn't any exception to it.
Man, so is there ever going to be a country? Well, let me ask you this. This is going to be a little bit deeper, So, is this a problem of just people not learning from these lessons? Or is it the only way they know how to do business, per se?
Okay, it's a combination of both. Okay? History only repeats itself because no one studies the history, therefore they don't see the okie doke coming.
Right.
Whenever you need answers to a problem, where do you go to get them? You go to an elder. Well, for governments, that elder is history. Okay? We go to our mom, we go to our dad to get some understanding, right? And that's what governments do. They go to history. They have studied their history. You have to remember that after the Dark Ages, when Rome collapsed, right, the majority of Europe was completely illiterate.
Right.
The hierarchy or the social society that was literate, they basically went underground because everyone else went into crazy medieval barbarianism, right? Because they had no leadership. They were complete survival mode. And this is the reason why the Ottoman Empire came into Europe, which was the Moors, by the way.
Right.
and taught and revived Europe and created what is known as the Renaissance age. And then when those white folks, right, the Europeans, learned all that we had to teach them, then they basically overthrew us,
right,
kicked us out, and reclaimed what they called theirs, right? But in all of that, I said that to say that it's all about knowing your history, being literate, because those that are illiterate will always fall for the okie doke.
Mm-hmm.
Just like right now, people are falling for the okie doke with this whole gun control campaign,
Mm-hmm.
right? People don't even know that Hitler used the exact same tactics of using the kids to promote gun control.
Right.
Right? Keep us safe. We don't want, we don't want teachers with guns. We don't want guns. They took all the guns, and then what happened?
They came in with the troops.
They came in with the troops and took over everybody's rights, and nobody had anything to say about it, even the Germans that were on the side of Germany.
Right.
Right? The military had full control over Germany, and that's how you got the atrocity of the Holocaust. And we can continue on with that history walk, and it's been happening. Hitler was a small player.
Yeah.
He only killed approximately 6 million people. But in Russia, 100 million.
Yeah, we didn't know
United
about Stalin.
States,
Yep.
United States, 120 million in genocide over the Native American indigenous people of this land.
Right.
Right? So Hitler was just a small player.
Right.
But the tactics were exactly the same.
Well, man, that's our time. Brother Kwanzai, man, I really appreciate you with this video. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of knowledge from this. I'm going to hit the books as well so I can get more, get my whistle wet in this stuff. But, man, thank you. I really appreciate your time, man. I appreciate it.
I think this was a very, very nice overview. But I look forward to doing some more interviews where we can get into some more detailed stuff where people can really understand what is happening, because they'll be able to evaluate current events that are happening, compare that to their financial portfolios and see what's going on. And then they'll be able to see that absolutely nothing has changed. And we're on the brink of another 2008, but this time 5 to 7 times worse.
Ooh.
But let's put that in English. Remember, 6 to 7 million people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 5 or 6. You got approximately 42 to 49 million people losing their jobs this time.
Man. So this is why, part of the reason why I make this channel, for people to get into entrepreneurship, because we got to use our God-given talents, our unique abilities to make something out of nothing and not get caught up in going to the job. Because I'm pretty sure you've heard Toys R Us, Macy's, JCPenney's, all these different stores are shutting down because they're getting pushed out.
Just do a search on the retail apocalypse. That'll summarize it all right there.
There you go.
Okay? Business is not happening as usual. So we as a community have to educate ourselves and start to come together and work as a community. Because when society collapses like it is going to do, there ain't nobody coming to save us.
Right.
And ain't nobody going to be on our team.
Right.
We have to build our team now, and we have to prepare ourselves for what is coming. That's future business. That's staying ahead of the curve. We're not going to wait till it happens and get caught up in the riots.
Yeah.
We're going to get our ducks in a row now so that we don't have to deal with any kind of riots.
Yes, sir.
We'll just be able to defend ourselves against any attackers, and then we can rebuild our society as we see fit for the conditions that exist for us at the moment until things get back on track.
Yes, sir, man. Any closing statements, anything you want to say, any numbers that you want to give out, anything you want to do to shout out what you got going on?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and open up my line. You can reach me at, because this is going to go viral.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to give out my phone.
Not yet, not too soon.
But I'll tell you what, we'll monitor the comments, put all your questions in the comments. I will be there to assist in answering those questions. And do your research. Do your research.
All right, man. Thank you, bro. You have a great day. Hard work videos. Once again, another interview in the bag. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.